Hello and good evening. Well, it's good evening where I am. I don't know where it is where you are. My name is Father Nicholas King and I'm a Jesuit priest and the assistant chaplain at Oxford University. I've been asked to talk on one of these splendid EBOR lectures, and this one is called, or perhaps they're all called, 2020 Vision Sharpening Focus. It's a very attractive title, that, because it points to where we are in this very mysterious time. Fact is, I don't know if you agree with me, we simply don't know where we are, and we're only going to know with the benefit of hindsight. And hindsight, of course, is always 2020. For many of us, probably for all of us, it's been the most extraordinary period that we've ever known. The oddity comes at several different levels. There is first the threat itself from this tiny and invisible virus, which is forcing us to question a great deal that we've always taken for granted, and that in turn means a certain sharpening of our focus to see what lies before us. Secondly, and connected with this, there's the uncertainty about what we're to do about it. Should we take a risk, as Jesus' disciples tend to do, or should we shroud ourselves in PPE and lock ourselves at home until it's all gone away? Thirdly, it's quite a shock for things not to be happening when and where you expect them. During the summer and our lockdown then, I noticed passing empty fields on lovely summer days. They were crying out to be played on and it wasn't happening. Or today, rugby or soccer fields where there's no action taking place. And Oxford says to itself, because I'm in Oxford, that's not how we do it here. And sometimes we've got to learn. It was said in the few days after Pope Francis was made Pope, it became rapidly clear that you could not possibly say to that man, Holy Father, that is not how we normally do things. Then another feature of this situation is that perhaps for the first time since you and I were children, it is just now simply impossible to plan anything without the proviso when this is all over, recognizing that we have no idea when that will be, and that is, I find, very disconcerting indeed. Then, connected with this, there is an epidemic of loneliness, especially among the young with whom I work, but not just them. The elderly, who are, by the way, just a phone call away, are finding it very hard indeed. Then, at a deeper level yet, there is a question of where God is in this bizarre situation. People, despite what was confidently predicted, simply are not coming back to church when public services were once more, and admittedly only briefly, permitted to us. People are finding elsewhere what they used to look for in church. And priests and bishops are inclined to say, you should come back. There's a Sunday obligation binding under mortal sin. Or, our parish finances are in a terrible way, come and contribute. But that doesn't have quite the same effect as it used to. And yet, this is not the whole of the story. For those of us who spend a good deal of our time looking after people by listening to them or allowing them to pour out their woes, we're aware that during lockdown there was a detectable thirst for God, or for spirituality, or for something that might make sense of all this. And in addition, people discovered that they got a good deal out of unselfishly taking care of others. And God is somewhere in that story, even if we can't quite find him. And there's more. These people who've gone during the lockdown deeper into their spirituality, people who've walked closer to God, don't all seem to feel called to come back, even when permitted, to the building called church, though they have in many cases had a good experience of the community called church during lockdown. And very often their experience of that community is not coterminous with strict denominational boundaries. They may want to ask themselves just what is going on here? What do we mean by church? So what are we to say to people who are looking for meaning, or to those who are longing to find a story that makes sense of it all? That aching cry goes up over and over again, where is God in all this? The COVID virus, you see, brings an invitation with it, an invitation to listen out for that voice of God. Or we may hear it, as does Pope Francis, in the cry of the poor or in the voice of our wounded planet. And that cry now takes on an added sharpness, for soon Christmas is going to be upon us, and even this year the purveyors of hospitality and of unwanted gifts have been assailing our pockets or our credit cards for some weeks now. And that's only going to increase once we get into Advent, and many people, you know this, don't you, just dread Christmas because it ought to be a good time, but too many will not be able to celebrate it with a special person. And this might be because that person has died recently, or that the relationship has ended, or a much-loved parent is in a care home to which we do not have access. Possibly that parent now suffers from dementia and cannot understand why the family are not coming to see them this Christmas when we are always together at Christmas. Now, all of these cries are the whispering voice of God, inviting us to glimpse that it's not any longer the case that everything must go back to what it seemed to be just a few short months ago. We speak these days, don't we, of the new normal, and that carries the hint that all will be well just as long as it can be just like it used to be. But God is not like that. Instead, God is forever challenging us towards the ever new, always a breath of fresh air, never allowing us to wallow in the familiar, but always leading us on together as part of the body of Christ. Now, how are you today going to respond to that invitation?